Hello and welcome back to another video. I've been copying some more tapes, and about 6 months ago now I was given some more reel-to-reel tapes, and I did a video last year about the trials and tribulations of 1950s paper-backed quarter-inch reel-to-reel tapes, and how difficult they are to copy, and how easy they break, and how they deteriorate, and all the rest of it. Then, funny enough, at the end of the winter, I got given another 7 pure tone quarter-inch reel-to-reel tapes, which are paper-backed again, and these date from the 1950s again. And I thought, oh no. But I have to say, whether these are better or whether these have just survived a bit better, these will run through my Sony TC 377 reel-to-reel 1973 tape recorder, and which makes life, a little bit easier. And so I knew these were of interest to me, because there was some very faint pencil writing inside the box lid that said George Blackmore, 1st of March, what I could make out, 1954, Capitol Cinema, Aberdeen, 10 AM BBC broadcast. So I thought, right, well, that sounds, quite interesting. I hope it's, of reasonable or a fair quality, bearing in mind this was a very early 50s tape recorder, probably recorded straight off a 1950s long or medium wave radio, so you can't expect miracles from that combination. But at this point I'll play you a little bit of this recording, just a few seconds, and have a listen, and then I'll come back and tell you the rest of the story. Now, for any organ buffs out there who've just listened to that, they will know immediately that kind of electronic-y pizzicato sound that George Blackmore was using there is definitely not a Compton stop or rank of pipes. This Compton organ, I think it dated from 1933. It didn't have a melotone unit on it, and that wasn't that kind of sound wasn't available on a melotone Compton unit anyway. And so I began to think, what is George Blackmore playing here? He must have some sort of other instrument or some sort of person playing along. But it only said his name in the Radio Times, and at that time the BBC were very... I went to the archive and looked at the Radio Times, and it just listed George Blackmore playing at 10 o'clock at the Capitol Cinema, Aberdeen. And so I came back to the box lid and studied it through my workshop magnifying glass light that I use on the televisions and radios and such like. And had I looked to start with, I would have found out that there was some more pencil writing up, very faint. It had gone very faint with age. Bearing in mind, we're talking of coming up for 70 years old now. And it said, first BBC Claveline broadcast. Oh, I thought, right. So obviously did no more. I went to Google and typed Claveline, or I was pronouncing it Claveline or Clavoline then, and it brought me a Wikipedia page up about this little late 40s Claveline keyboard. And, you know, I read about the history, about that this was designed by a Frenchman called Constant Martin, who, you know, developed this in the late 40s, and it went on sale for the first time in about 1947. And it was basically, you know, it was all valve technology, obviously. By that time we had, you know, got some miniature valves, because there was some valves in the keyboard unit as well as the little amplifier unit. It came in a case, and I will put some, as you've seen some pictures. So the Clavoline was basically a buzzwave oscillator, with obviously a few high and low filter positions to alter the sounds, and obviously all valve. By that time we had got some miniature valves, because I will put some pictures up now of the Clavoline, and you'll see it came as a portable unit. It all fitted and folded up into a box. The keyboard went on top of the box, which held the amplifier and the speaker, so it was totally portable. You could take it anywhere you wanted, so it wouldn't have been difficult to get this into the, you know, cinema. It was like a little suitcase, probably round about the size of, you know, the Pi television here altogether. And as I say, this was designed by Constant Martin in France in 1947. I think all the units that were sold were built under license to him. I think the UK units were Selmar made by, I think in America, Gibson, the guitar company, I think made them. And I think there was another licensed company in Germany that actually made some as well. But an interesting little keyboard, and obviously this is what George Blackmore had with him and playing alongside him, or somewhere on the organ or alongside it, and was playing on this broadcast. Now whether this was the first time the Clavoline had been broadcast with an organ, I don't know. It possibly is. And that got me thinking, did this belong to George Blackmore? Was it his? How much did this unit cost? It was difficult to find any hard and fast costings on this, but it seems it could have been around about 105 guineas in the early 1950s, so a lot of money. So I started to err on the side that this was probably belonging to the BBC, and they had said to George Blackmore, would you like to play this, you know, thinking it would offer a few different unique sounds to what you would normally hear from a 3-manual 8-rank Compton in that broadcast. And I think he did use it in subsequent broadcasts from the capital Aberdeen in 1954 as well. Now that ties in, then I started to remember that I had posted a Stanley Tudor part broadcast at the BBC Moller theatre organ from the Jubilee Chapel, Hoxton. I think that was 1955 or 1956, going from memory. And on that there was some very basic electronic sounds coming out. So yes, somebody kindly commented on that video of Stanley Tudor that sometime in the 1950s the BBC had in fact put an edition of a Clavoline onto the Moller theatre organ, which was the BBC organ then, and that's what Stanley Tudor was actually playing on that recording. So one wonders whether this was the same one that George Blackmore had used in Aberdeen. I don't know that, and we should probably never know that. But I thought it was quite interesting that we often think that you know, mixing, shall we say, electronic music with theatre organ is a new take. You know, I know there's a few names that come to mind. Brian Sharp did it for many years down at Sanford Park, playing all sorts of instruments, and I once saw Brian Sharp give a very great performance at the Blackpool Tower using various electronic devices as well as the Wurlitzer in the Blackpool Tower. So this is nothing new, and it's, you know, things just go around, don't they? Here's George Blackmore doing it in 1954 with the claveline, as I say. So I just thought that was quite interesting. So yeah, if we come forward to the pop era of the 1960s, the claveline obviously grew in popularity then. And if we think of the, was it 1961, the Del Shannon hit Runaway, that is one of these little keyboards, although I think that one had been modified somewhat, but nonetheless it was played on one part, you know, part of the music on that actual record. And then the one that really comes to mind is the Tornadoes and Telstar of the big hit of 1962. And there again, it's very debated what was used, but there's no doubt that in Joe Meek's London studio, they did have a claveline there, and it probably was used on that recording. So it's very interesting, you know, as I say. And I think also coming right up, you know, 1967, and I can't remember what the actual song was, but the Beatles actually used one on a one of their recordings. I think it was one of their B-side recordings, and it's reputed that John Lennon actually rolled an orange across the keyboard of this little device to get the sound that they wanted. And so yeah, quite an interesting history. And so I will put a couple of videos if you want to hear one or see one. I'll put a couple of links to some videos there. But and the rest of the George Blackmore recording from the Compton Cinema will obviously go up on YouTube as well, if you'd like to listen to that. But I just thought that was interesting, and a little bit of history there. And as always, thanks for watching, and please do like, comment, subscribe. We do appreciate it, as always. And I will catch up with you in a future video. Until then, my best wishes and bye for now.